Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Making It Work. I'm Jimmy. 62 C10 project video today, but it's going to be a quick one because I'm not working on the truck on New Year's Day. So I'm making the L-shaped bracket to hold up the front of the cowl that goes to the back of the firewall and supports the front of the cowl. I've already started cutting it, and I said, you know what? I should video this. I cut the bracket in half. I bought a piece of box tubing in Home Depot. I couldn't find the correct L bracket. My metal brake won't bend heavy metal, and this is actually a little heavier than 18 gauge, not much. I think it's 16, so it'll be super strong. So anyway, I cut it in half, full length, and I took the nicer piece that's a little meatier, a little deeper, and I cut reliefs in it so I can curve it to the shape of the cowl. And that'll also fit the firewall, of course. And then once I'm going to tack weld where I made the pie cuts, clean it all up and grind it smooth, and then I'll just have to cut the height down here so it tucks under the firewall lip. That'll be perfect. I can spot weld it to the firewall, and I know the cowl is going to drop right on top of it. We're good to go. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm going to grab the welder and let's get started. Just in case you guys couldn't see the pie cuts while I was running my trap, just about every 8 inches or so that I could get it up nice and flush on the bottom of the cowl. Because what I want is for this to follow the form so I can weld it from the top once everything's installed. I'm going to run a weld all the way down so the water can't go down there. I could probably spot weld and put some seam sealer in there, but I think I'd rather just weld it all in. That way I don't have to worry about seam sealer loosening up and letting water underneath it and all that stuff. So I'm just going to move these clamps as I go and fill in these pie cuts. Now I'm not welding this to the Fast and Furious, bro. Little Honda Civic. I'm not welding this to the cowl. I'm just using the cowl to get the shape I want. I don't have to go quite all the way to the top because I think I'm going to have to cut about an eighth to a quarter of an inch off of it as I go up to get it to fit the firewall. Now, I got all my little pie cut welds all the way up. And I just got to clean them up a little bit. Switch over to the flapper disc, clean up these welds, see how it fits against the firewall, and mark the top cut. We're in business. Cowl should drop right in after that. All right, let's get the, got to switch these over to my flapper disc tool. Pop this off of here. You guys put your vice grips away, you just put a little tension on them. Close them, they don't pop around, open up in your toolbox and stuff. This should be kind of cooled off. Yeah, it's cooled off. You see I got a slight bend to it. Clean that up. New truck. You might notice I'm not taking these welds 100% down. I'm just making them smooth so they sit flat against the firewall. You're not even going to see that. I want to leave some metal in there and take as little metal away as possible. I want it strong. I might have to touch this side up if I wanted to care about appearance, but I don't see any pinholes. No water's going to leak through and get in the cab. That's my number one concern, really, is keeping the cab dry. Let's go see how this thing fits on the firewall and how much we have to trim off the top. This is where this sits. You and I are seeing how it fits together. Now there's going to be a little, this piece is 48 inches and I think the cowl is like 52 or 52 and a half inches. So I'm going to have to make little 1.5 inch, 2 inch pieces on either side approximately. But my main concern right now is getting this main piece. I'm going to center it on these two steel brackets. That these supports are definitely in the same place on both sides. It's about a 1/2 inch to 3/8 on each side, and I'll be able to make the same size pieces on both ends. And all I need to do really is mark the height all the way down the firewall, which is not really, in some places I don't even have to cut it at all. I'll probably trim just a tiny bit off just to make it easier. And this is going to be like 1/8 of an inch maximum. It's going to be a little bit deeper here. I'll finish marking this up and then we'll cut it. All that really matters is that I have enough to weld here, because the job of this is to run water off both sides, as I mentioned in the earlier video. So as long as this is sealed down here, we're good. 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch, 1/2 inch, whatever, but I'm going to go up as high as I can. I want to tuck it under this roll, then I'm going to spot weld it all the way across from the inside. Drop the cowl in there, you won't even see most of it. I think only about 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch is exposed down here when the cowl's laid on top. All right, let's see if we can cut this. I just clamped it to this, so I'm not holding this and holding the thing. I want to be kind of accurate. So I'm just using the weight of these to hold it. It's super handy since Joe hasn't welded them yet. Down. Of course, I'm gonna have to clean up the I also don't want to bend this back. I want to keep it curved, so I'm just gently clamping it in place, and I'm only clamping on the very end so it doesn't affect how it's curved. Now I'll just hit the flapper down here and take off the sharp burrs. These Diablo blades are pretty tough, but when that metal bounces, you can see the blade just getting chunked up and coming apart way faster. Uh-oh, don't try to grab that. I don't have my gloves on, like a dummy. Switch connectors, deburr. Cool. I wasn't expecting to get to do this today. We had so much work to do. I didn't think we were going to get it done. But now we're done. So I get an hour or so to play with the truck. Let's go see how this thing fits. A little more of a trim. Let's see where we're at. And we are close. This is a metal work thing where you're just sneaking up on it, sneaking up on it. Gotta come a little to me. I am going to hammer this firewall a little straighter, and I'm going to have to pick up some of the spots here are hammered low, you can see here. So I'm not trying to get under that, I'm trying to get under where it's supposed to be, and then I'm going to make some tweaks. See, I didn't want to cut, my line looked like it was too low over here, so I didn't want to cut that low. Now I'm going to have to go cut it somewhere. Teach me a lesson, and we'll have to believe our eyes this time. Got it fitted, got it under all the way down, got it clamped on. Now what I'm going to do is mark where I want to spot weld on the firewall and on this, because I'm not going to weld the seam at the top all the way down. I'm just going to spot weld it because water's not going to get under there, right? Plus there's a hood that covers up to here. Water's going to go this way. So that's where the full weld's going to be, spot welds here. But I am going to mark them, and so I know exactly where I want to drill them, what my preferences are. I'm probably going to try to go where the original spot welds were. So let me mark these all, and then I'll drill some holes. I don't know if I'm going to get to do any more work as far as welding it in, but we'll see. All right, I got plans. I'm going to see if my flanging tool will make the holes deep enough. It doesn't have to be accurate. I've cleaned a much bigger area on the firewall than I need, just in case the hole is off a tiny bit, left, right, up, or down. But this does have a punch feature on the flanging tool. So I'm going to go down where all these marks are, where I cleaned on the firewall, and instead of drilling, I'm going to try punching them. I think it'll work, and if the holes are a little small, then it'll be real easy to drill them afterwards, right? Give it a try. That's what it does. One nice clean little hole. It's a decent size, a tiny bit small, but not too bad. Should be quick and easy, I think. I didn't want that one all the way down because that's a little short there. Look at that. That was 5, 10, 16 holes in less than a minute. I'm going to call that a win. As we used to say up in Long Island, in New York on Long Island, I threw a little primer on there. So, can't have bare metal on the underside. That would bother me. I'm going to clamp this in place, and I think for today I'll clamp it in place and I'll run my drill bit and just make the little drill marks. So I'm going into the firewall panel just a little bit. You get a much better bite that way if you drill into the second panel a little bit. Kind of running out of time, I'm not sure. I keep saying I'm not going to get more done, but I keep getting more done, so let's see what happens. Throw my vice grips back on there and try to keep them out of my way. I might have to go in the cab to weld this from the back, but that's all right. I'm used to being in the cab on my knees. I've been doing it for a couple months, right? If I have this a little bit tweaked, where there's a gap in here, then the weld's not going to be strong. So I want to get the two panels together, and then if I need to, when I put the cowl in, if this is a little high, then I can tap it with a hammer. It's going to straighten right out because it's going to be one with the firewall. You have to buy the firewall to get this piece, but my firewall has no rust on it really. A little tiny bit in the floors, but the floor panels I bought come with that part of the firewall. So the firewall, $700 plus shipping. This piece of metal was 40 bucks and a couple hours worth of work. Replacing the firewall, way more work. All right, let's see if we can get this done. Uh-oh. You get the idea. All right, looks like we are going to get this thing welded in today. Let's give it a whirl. A little bit hard to see without blocking the camera. I'm starting to weld on the firewall, not on the new piece. You start it on the firewall and bring it out to the new piece. Make sure you got penetration on both panels. Welder's super hot. Got a pretty thick firewall and a pretty thick piece of repair metal. Let's make it strong. Some places the firewall is not back on the new piece of metal, so I'm going to make sure I don't have a gap on a couple of holes here that have a little gap. Got to fabricate an end piece for both sides, and then a little bit of primer. Alright, this will give you an idea. There's the end piece over here. This is what I'm going to do. Cut the bracket, the piece right off here all the way, and then cut this square out because I want it to fit over this piece here that's left from the original sheet metal. I'm trying to remove as little original sheet metal as I can, as long as it's solid. So the plan is to cut that piece, fit it in there, and weld it to all the surrounding metal, spot weld it to the firewall like I did with the majority of that strip down there. And then I'll fit this end, and I'll make a similar piece on the other end to finish off the other side. And then once I'm all done, I get the COWL welded in. I probably am going to put a little seam seal or something on all this stuff just to make sure. Depends on how good the welds come out. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I'm going to start playing with these little end pieces. I'm assuming I'm not going to get them done, right? Alright guys, I think I'm going to call it right there. I'm not going to get those other little end pieces done today. Got a lot more done than I expected. I thought I'd play with that piece of angle metal just a little bit and be done. But, progress. That's what matters the most. Hope you'll torque the like button. Maybe subscribe if you want to see some more project truck videos. Don't forget, I got day in the shop videos. Sometimes I do tool reviews, all kinds of things. All my day in the shop videos, I go over the tools I'm using on a daily basis, especially if I have problems or something, or if the phone rings. So, I hope I see you guys in the next video because you're awesome.